Activision pulls FaZe Clan streamer Nickmercs skin for Call of Duty following what they classify as anti-LGBTQ tweet. Aiden?
Yeah, I mean, I saw this last night, and my immediate reaction was, this is going to go horribly for Call of Duty, because I gotta say, I don't know if Call of Duty has looked at their player base lately, but if you have your prox chat on, it's a million times worse than anything Nickmercs has ever said on camera in his life at any point ever. And I think that if you look at what's happening here, basically Nickmercs comes out, and there was a brawl at a pride parade recently, and not a pride parade. There was a what was it? It was a school board meeting, right?
Yeah.
It's probably, I want to make sure I got that right. Brawl at a school board meeting. And I believe it's the one that was actually between it was the Armenian Americans and the LGBT group, and they were all in a fight, and huge issue, right? Nick comes on and says they should leave little children alone. That's the real issue. And I think a lot of people are seeing this and going, oh, well, Nickmercs is implying that LGBTQ people are pedophiles. And I don't think that's what he's implying. I think that the conversation around LGBTQ material in schools, in culture, everywhere, has gotten to a point where one side is looking at all of this and saying, there's something weird going on here.
Mm-hmm. There's also a level of being initiated into the discussion that matters here. Like, the language they use is intentionally vague to obfuscate what's going on from people who are not politically initiated or aware of what's going on within this world.
Yes.
The left is intentionally subversive.
Yeah.
So to look at this as if the all of the information is out in the open and stuff, that's not the case at all.
Yeah.
The left is intentionally subversive. So go on with what you were saying.
So Nick is probably on the side where he's seen these videos of child drag shows. He's seen these videos of family-friendly drag shows where you've got people actually, and this is not the vast majority, but it is a number of them. This does happen. And the common refrain is, oh, well, that doesn't actually happen. No, there are, if you go and you look at it, there is a significant number of videos of drag performances that do involve sexualized aspects. Yeah. And Nickmercs is looking at this and saying, all right, well, I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at the fact that genderqueer depicts an explicit act, looking at This Book is Gay, talking about how to meet up with anonymous strangers to have homosexual relations. And here's the fact matters: if two adults want to be gay, no problem. If an adult wants to dress up and drag and go perform for adults, fine. More power to you. Do what you want. But he's seeing it and going, all right, I'm seeing this being targeted at children. It's at a school. I've seen what's in these books. I'm concerned. And then you've got people on the other side of it who, I had a conversation with somebody. I got into a bit of an argument in an Instagram section, in a comment section. He says, can we talk about this privately? I reach out. He's gay. He's got a daughter. She's in school. He and I are talking. I tell him what I'm seeing, the genderqueer stuff, the This Book is Gay stuff. And he's like, well, I haven't seen that. Can you send me the pictures? So I send him the pictures of the book, and his immediate opinion was, oh yeah, well, I wouldn't want my middle schooler to see this, but this might be okay for high school. So when you actually talk to people and you have the conversation, you say, I'm not comfortable with this specific thing, and you show them that specific thing, they often agree with you. Absolutely. The problem is that nobody's communicating because we're all too busy fighting in the middle.
It's not because we're all too busy fighting in the middle. It's like I said, it is intentionally subversive. This is by design. The reason that people should object to this really is because the left intends to subvert. They intend to lie. They intend to deceive you because they know that if people read things like Herbert Marcuse's Eros and Civilization, or Michel Foucault, or I think I don't remember the other gender studies person, but if you read their literature, their papers, there are justifications for intergenerational relationships, justification for pedophilia. There are drag performers that are also drag scholars, they call themselves. There's one by the name of Little Miss Hot Mess that say things like children are inherently kinky. There are people that are intending to violate children. Some because of the queer theory, some because they are just predators that attach themselves to the LGBT lobby because they believe they can get defended.
Yeah.
People talk about, the left loves to bring up the Catholic Church whenever anyone talks about.
We had a $20 one really quick.
Ooh.
Wyatt Derp says, seems odd to get incensed that people might suggest the LGHTTV crowd might be what Mary would deem a PDF file. I mean, it wasn't us who invented NAMBLA. Man, I haven't heard that name in a long
Yeah, me
time.
neither.
They're
Wow,
not the
nuts
ones
in
who
South
tried to
Park.
show adult material to elementary school kids.
He's not wrong. It's intentional. And to give the people on the left the benefit of the doubt, I understand that there's plenty of normies out there that really don't want to discriminate against gay people, and because I'm one of them. I'm not. Of
course not.
I'm not. I'm not particularly religious. I'm an agnostic. I don't have a moral objection to gay people living their lives however they want. I don't have a problem with adults that want to go through body modification and live their lives as females if they're male, or whatever, live their lives as women. I have no problem with that. My problem is with the subversive political ideology that has attached itself to the LGBT lobby, right? It is not about whether or not someone is sleeping with a man or a woman, and it is not about whether or not someone wants to live their life as a woman if they're born a man. It is about teaching children that the sexual, teaching children sexual topics before they're ready is really the core of it.
Absolutely. And now we're seeing a spike in, and the left would say, well, this is because, the stigma has been removed, but, 20% of people identifying as LGBT, give me a break. That's because of new socialization. And so I was actually talking a little bit about this recently with my wife about, like, if, say in another 20 years, we go from, I think, people who just, it's like, they grow up and it's like, I'm gay, I feel this way, and, there's those people, and then, you have people who are socialized to, like, think of a certain ideology. What are those people going to be like? Are they going to be like militant? I don't know. Yeah.
People don't realize that there is a whole school of thought that gender needs to be abolished. Google gender abolitionism. Like, that's a real thing. Like, I think it's kind of crazy, but it's a real thing. It's a whole school of thought where they say, look, we shouldn't even have men and women, right? We shouldn't have man and woman. We should have, you should live your life however you want, but there shouldn't be the social categories of man and woman. I don't think that society can survive without man and woman.
Absolutely not.
I don't think that society would work.
An interesting way to look at this is, like, why is it that it's requiring us to talk to streamers from video games to bring these topics up when they should be discussed more openly amongst everyone? He responded to what was said, and he basically said, I didn't intend to insult anyone. He goes, I don't have any quarrel with people on the internet. And from what I understand, a lot of people have said, like, he's not a particularly controversial person.
He's really
because
not
this
controversial
should
at
not
all.
be a controversial perspective, but the obfuscation of the means and the ends of this means that it is controversial because it's designed. Look, when you look up here, when you watch the article, when you go look at it from IGN, they absolutely include what was shown from Call of Duty's Twitter, but they don't show what he actually said. So they say, following anti-LGBTQ plus tweet, but they don't include the actual tweet so that you can make up your mind. They do the same thing to J.K. Rowling every time they talk about the awful stuff that J.K. Rowling says. They never actually link to any of the things or show what was actually said because their argument falls apart when you actually talk to some
because normies see it, and then normies are like, wait a minute, what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
They don't see why it's a problem, and the only people that are read into critical gender studies and stuff like that, only people that are read into these things, queer theory, only they know what the problem is, because the problem is that you're shedding a light on what is in queer theory.
So my problem with it is it's as bad as the what you would call the leftists are. The media that runs cover for them are 100 times worse.
Much worse.
That's like I said the other week. I said I don't care how much you hate journalists, you don't hate them enough. Most of the time,
I think
in the media.
Yeah, and to expand upon your point is, I do believe, I think a majority of gays and lesbians do not actually subscribe to this. I think most of them are just like, I just want to live my life.
Yep.
I live here with Joe or Beth, and that's my life. And then it's these elites, these minority elites that come in and be like, no, you have to get on board. You must get on board. And if they, and some of them are just like, oh, I guess you're right. Maybe I should. Or some of them are like, no, I don't want to. And then they get canceled by their community.
We got two $20 ones here. One from Wyatt Derp says there's a peaceful and accommodating solution. Give them the island of Madagascar to the Alphabet Soup Society and let them live in peace to build their own society. We will leave them alone and check on them in 200 years. That's his take on it. And then Nate Garland says, bad take, Phil. If you believe that adults can believe and change themselves due to their delusions, you water down the truth. It then trickles down to kids. It's all or nothing, dude.
No, I don't believe that's the case at all.
I think me and you are probably in the same case here, because it does feel like a lot of times whenever we cover this stuff, I get the instinct to say, look, it's all or nothing. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's not fair.
Our society has the tools to manage this. Like we do. Our society can take care of and treat trans people in a way where they're allowed to live their lives. Our society is completely capable of handling this.
Yep.
All you have to do is allow people to live their lives how they want and keep the ideologues out of schools.
And
keep the ideologues away from children. Keep the ideologues away from people that are...
And out of these businesses.
Yes.
And
yes.
I wanted to support something you said, which I think, you're on the libertarian spectrum as well as I am. And if there's one group of people...
Spectrum is exactly how you want to call it.
We're on the spectrum. Exactly.
Exactly.
So,
brave of you to admit your mental
illness. I'm on board.
Well, if there's one other group of people who get associated with pedophiles more than the LGBT community right now, aside from priests, which again is totally like the whole priest thing is taken so unbelievably out of context and makes it seem so much worse. But with it's public school faculty is considerably worse than priests, and everybody needs to know that. But what I was going to say is libertarians get associated with pedophilia all the time, not because libertarians are by and large pedophiles. Most libertarians I know actually believe in the death penalty for pedophilia. But if you look at who's getting associated, well, where are a group of people that want to live outside the bounds of the current law and morality going to run to? They're going to run to the libertarian community, because there they can say, they can advocate for things like abolishing the police, and they'll be like, oh yeah, that's we like that. We like getting rid of public policing. Oh well, yeah, we should also, maybe we should take religion out of schools and things. Yeah, definitely, okay. And then and then also, maybe the age of consent being 18 is too high. Maybe we should lower it to 16. I can see an argument for that. And then 10 years down the road, all right, well, maybe we don't even need the age of consent. Maybe that's not necessary. And then it's been so long, those people are so deeply embedded into a movement that it's really hard to extract them, because they have all those same opinions as you on so many other things, but they've only ever held those opinions to be involved in a place where they can be accepted. And the same thing has happened with the LGBT community, where you've got people who are like, well, this is actually all about, I was born this way. I have these attractions. There's nothing I can do about it. I deserve acceptance. And the problem there is, and I think the reason that you're seeing it crop up in the LGBT community and kind of moving away from the libertarians, is libertarians have the non-aggression principle. Pedophilia violates the non-aggression principle. The LGBT community does not have the non-aggression principle because they're not a political party.
And they use the same argument for abortion, right? Like,
I think you probably have. There's probably substance there. The thing that I would push back is that there is all of the stuff that we're seeing, culture war stuff, really boils down to philosophy.
Yeah.
Right. And it is where it comes from. And there are philosophers on the left that write papers that justify all that stuff. So
I would absolutely agree on that note, that there are people with bad actors intentionally driving this.
Yeah.
I believe I 100% agree.
Do you think it's time to start boycotting companies like this then? Does Call of Duty get boycotted?
I don't think that'll be effective. Yeah. I think the reason that Bud Light was effective is because it was super easy to grab Coors Light right next to it.
Yes.
I think Tim's on to that.
And unfortunately, Battlefield kind of dropped the ball.
Yeah.
Recently.
Well, there's no competing. There's no casual game that plays like Call of Duty. I've been playing a lot of Destiny recently, which there aren't better game studios either. It's not like you're going to be like, well, I can play Overwatch.
You don't have the same amount of options as somebody who wants to boycott Bud Light.
Right now you have DICE, EA, and you have Ubisoft. Ubisoft is worse.
Yeah, they're all. I mean, whether it be Wizards of the Coast,
Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, and Wizards
Magic.
They also do, but they also do. Or no, Blizzard does Overwatch.
Well, Blizzard's all part of Activision and the Infinity
Okay, so
Ward.
but that's the thing. There isn't a place to go. It's not like you can say, I'm going to boycott Call of Duty and I'm going to play this. There's nowhere better. There's no place that's okay. There's no place that's going to be like, oh, we're not involved in that kind of in the progressive social justice stuff. There isn't one. So I don't think boycotting Call of Duty is going to work. I don't think that it'll have much effect. Just because I don't think that
if you wanted to get them to do so, what would you suggest they play instead?
Well, that's the thing. Here's the fact of the matter is, I own Modern Warfare 2. I've already paid for it. It's how I interact with my friends who live all over the country. I'm gonna keep playing Modern Warfare 2. I'm not gonna spend any money. But I think that when it comes to oh boy,
thank you guys.
When it comes to finding another game, I mean, Counter-Strike 2 is coming out. I guess.
Go.
Like, you've got the Tom Clancy games, but Phil's right. There's nothing in gaming outside of Battlefield that even comes close to being what Call of Duty is. And Battlefield and Call of Duty are, they're taken from each other at this point. And if you look at Battlefield, they got raked over the coals for including somebody who was disabled in one of the games, who had like a prosthetic arm, who would never be on the front lines of a war.
Well, that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
Is like they were just like, oh, we're gonna put this person that's actually disabled and has a pink hair. No, that was in Call of Duty where they had like all the people that all the characters were like so out of place or something.
We got a $20 super
Battlefield
chat.
2042 did it too.
We got a $20 I remember that. We got a $20 super chat from Wyatt Derp, says, get rid of public police and people are at the mercy of private security who lack the same oversight. The Pinkerton Detective Agency was used as a mercenary force in West Virginia to bully minors and their families.
I don't know if that's a good idea, Wyatt.
I also that was funny because when we covered Elliot Page earlier this week, there was the story about Elliot Page facing the slurs being said to them in public, and he said, "Well, I can afford." They did a gay bash, as they said, and it said Elliot Page can afford private security. The average everyday American can't do that,
not even remotely.
So, and one more $20 super chat from Braymont says, "Bring back Medal of Honor."
Yeah, Medal of Honor was a good game back in the day.
Yes.
Yeah,
So-
I mean,
Nostalgic.
And like I said, you can boycott Bud Light. Coors Light is right there.
Yeah.
You can boycott Target. Walmart is still there.
Yep.
Even Amazon can deliver most of your stuff other than food. I mean, they have food delivery too, but you've got a lot of options there. It might require you to be a little bit more steadfast and go find something and learn to go without. If you believe in this and you believe in the boycott of these products, and I don't come down very often one way or the other on boycotts because the Bud Light seems to be the example of the most effective recently out of all of them.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of always black-pilled in this realm because I'm always just like, what does it really matter? It doesn't seem like anything really changes. But I understand that I'm looking at it in a wider perspective than you need to on something like this. You really need to get down into the nitty-gritty of stock price, of how much is actually changing on the ground level if you want to see where that change comes from. But with video games, it's very, very different. And for somebody like this, for such a bland, mediocre, uncontroversial take, it's just depressing.
And when it comes to that being uncontroversial, it really is as simple as all of this is on the internet and everybody is assuming the worst of everyone they interact with. In reality, you sit 80% of people down and you say, here's what books are in schools. We don't want these books in schools. And you show them the books. Most of the time, they're going to be like, you know what? I agree with you. This is not appropriate for my 12-year-old. And then suddenly, it's not about gay people. It's not about trans people. It's literally just about this.
Yeah, but look at what set this whole thing off. Armenian parents fighting with Antifa outside of a school board meeting because they had an issue with the books that were going to be put into the school. This isn't about banning books, which is one thing that the left is going to say. It's not about banning books. It's literally about curation.
Yep.
It's about what is and is not allowed in the library or in the school. And the parents have every right to say these books should not be taught. These books should not be put in front of our kids. I don't at any point I can't understand why this is acceptable to parents when they're talking about like, okay, we're going to teach kids about anal sex
because they're not paying attention. In my
like,
opinion,
That's what I'm trying to say. Is if you sit them down, you say, "Here's the material,"
that's
they
iPad
immediately the light bulb goes on and they get it.
Yeah, but the thing is, you have to get people to look at that. Like some kid was complaining on Twitter about what I said, and he said, "Well, this isn't happening." I was like, "Read Eros and Civilization by Herbert Marcuse and come back to me." And then his reply was, "I'm not gonna." So it's like, okay, so you'll jump in and say this is, and with you'll assert that you know that this is about the context, and then when I'll say, "Hey, maybe this book will give you more information about the context where this guy actually defends pedophilia and talks about things that are displayed in queer theory and stuff, or talked about in queer theory and stuff." And the problem and the response is, I refuse to find out any information. It's not like I'm like saying, hey, read some right-winger stuff. Herbert Marcuse is literally as far left as you get. So I'm not trying to misinform people. I'm like, go get the information that has upset people. Go find it yourself. Here's one of the guys where you can find it. No, I don't want to. Because they want to be ignorant.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.